Shout, I'm talking to you, so come on. Shout.
Good morning, everybody. 17 minutes after the hour. Welcome to the Sunrise Show. Craig Fronikin is your host, and thrilled to welcome onto the program former Senate candidate Dr. Monica Wehby, and she ran against, for the U.S. Senate, and it's great to have her on because she's now started a new project, even though she is extraordinary when it comes to surgeon for a neonatal up there in Portland, and it's great to have her on. But monicapack.com, you got to check that out. And Dr. Monica Wehby, it's great to have you on this morning.
Well, I'm happy to be here, Craig. I've missed talking with you.
Yeah, we had a good time when you were touring the state. And, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And what's interesting, and we were talking about off air, and I've been talking about it this morning, is how Oregonians are or are not represented by the people who are sent to represent them. And in the Oregon legislature, I've been talking to legislators. Oddly enough, I haven't had any Democrats on. We used to feature Senator and Dr. Alan Bates, but they've kind of just stayed back. And I said, well, okay, I'll respect their wishes on that. Only from the standpoint is they have the high ground, and there's so many Oregonians that aren't being represented.
Well, I tell you what, I think that you're absolutely right about that. When I went around this state, several times, Craig, over that year and a half, and kept hearing the same thing from people over and over again, that they don't feel like they're being represented by the representatives there. All of the problems with job creation, with all the overregulation, nobody's held accountable. There's no transparency. Our individual liberty and freedoms being overrun. And basically, the problem is that we've got a one-party system. And when you have a one-party system where the same party has been in power for, what is it, Craig, 30 years now or so?
Oh, my goodness.
And when that happens, you get all of this corruption because there is no accountability. There's no checks and balances. And some of the legislation that's gone through this session, some of this legislation on the Second Amendment, extended background checks, the low-carbon fuel tax, those have gone through without any Republican support at all. And that's a real problem when the other side is not at all in agreement with what's being done.
No, and I've talked about the fact that they have lost, in the politician side of things, they've lost the art of negotiation. It is the beat down, and right when the opening day of the legislation in the Oregon legislature, the carbon fuel tax was pushed through, and you could see it's just a complete, utter debacle because the taxes going on to gasoline are being funneled out of the state.
Right. Well, the problem is that it's basically just feel-good legislation, and it's not going to do anything to really help. Oregon only produces it's 0.7% of the total carbon footprint that we put out as a country, and so they want to potentially raise our this tax up to $1 a gallon for something that's not even going to make a difference. They want to lower it by 10%, which would be going from 0.7% to 0.63%.
Oh.
It's going to be dropping it a minuscule amount that's not going to make a significant difference, but it's going to be a huge impact on our small businesses, on our farmers, our truckers, everybody that's got to buy fuel, our families. It's crazy, and none of it goes to roads, none of it goes to bridges, and then on top of this, they want to add. They're trying to add an additional tax for transportation tax.
Oh, right.
And it's just too much, for something that is really basically just feel-good legislation. It sounds good, but in reality, it ends up hurting the average Oregonians.
And the research money, you wonder, where's that all going to go? Where's the oversight for all that research dollars going out of the state? Now, Monica, what's interesting is there was not one mention about roads and bridges, and Oregon State Representative Sal Esquivel Craig, he said, they're doing this carbon fuel tax, not 1 cent. Then, of course, the transportation bill came in after the fuel tax bill was passed.
That's right. That's right. Well, the carbon fuel tax has nothing to do with infrastructure, roads, bridges. It all goes to funding, basic clean energy research. So it goes to subsidize those efforts. It does not go in any way to the infrastructure, our roads, our streets, bridges, nothing. And that has to be done. That's why there's so much resistance to it, because it's not going to make a significant difference. It's going to hurt our families and our businesses. It's going to continue to drive business out of this state. And it's not going to help our infrastructure. And so to help the infrastructure, we have to add an additional tax onto our already 30 cents a gallon tax. We'd have to increase that for the roads and bridges. It's crazy.
Exactly. We're talking with Dr. Monica Wehby. She was a candidate for U.S. Senate, and she started a Monica PAC, monicapac.com, even though she's working full-time in medicine. And interesting, between minimum wage, there was an article in the Tribune related to the nursing school here and, Oregon Health Sciences, and they're talking $32 an hour for nursing coming in, and yet the Speaker of the House is trying to push for a $13 minimum wage. It's outrageous. It's just crazy. Monica, I want to
tell you what we need to do, Craig, though, and what our PAC is going to do is inform the voters what's going on. And we have a way of doing that has never been done here in Oregon. We have a way of aggregating data that's all of the information on social media, Twitter, Facebook, blogs, conventional media, radio, TV, and seeing what people think, how they feel about issues, what they're talking about and what they're concerned about, and what their true sentiment is on this. So, for example, the expanded background checks.
Oh, my
They
goodness.
were passing around that, 80-something%, 83, 87% of Oregonians favored this. They had a 87% poll saying that people wanted this. When we look at the data over Memorial Day weekend, we found that 79% of people opposed the Oregon legislation. And so you can ask a poll in any way you want and get any answer you want. And you know that, Craig.
Yep.
It's the way you ask the question. And so the information we're able to get is accurate and more complete and more true to form, because you're going to get what people are saying to each other on social media. And this is a very valuable tool. And we can inform voters with this. We can inform their representatives with what people are really thinking. And that's the key to getting representation, is having people understand what's going on, because everybody's so busy in their daily life, Craig, they don't have time to sit and figure out what's going on down in Salem. They need it given to them constantly in a drumbeat fashion so they know.
I'm glad you mentioned those data points, because I was going to ask you, because we were just jumping up and down related to Senate Bill 941, and we were looking as Oregonians were going to the Senate and the House chambers, for public comment, and it mattered none.
I know it's very, very frustrating, and until people get out there and get organized, and I found a lot of times too, Craig, when I was running for Senate, that a lot of time the general media will not put your message out. I mean, you could be countering attacks or countering, claims. I mean, Lord knows I went through enough character assassination to last, 24 lifetimes. But when you try to put out the other side of the story, oftentimes it's just not covered. It just will not get the play. And when you have social media out there where there is no accountability, where anybody can say anything that they want to say without it ever being called into question. These stories just take on a life of their own. We've got to have a rapid response team, and these are the things that we're planning on doing. We're planning on building an infrastructure that allows people to respond to these sorts of character assassination attacks that are truly fact-finding missions, ways to call out what's going on that's not representing the voters, that's not the truth. And unless you have the infrastructure to do that, unless you have the network and the people at the ready, and this is what we're going to try to do, is have people in every district that have their ear to the ground. We can nip this stuff in the bud, and then with the technology that we have, we'll be able to see these things as well. So we can really start to change the game.
You know, it's awesome because I talk about that. Give the voters, give the listeners the nuts and bolts. They are smart. They are tuned in, and they know, and they smell a rat when they see it. They smell it, and it's not difficult. But if you spin it, then they get, you know, they don't want to be involved anymore. It's just
right.
So frustrating.
Well, it's disheartening and it's frustrating. And when, you know, it was hard for me. I had to think long and hard about whether or not to get back in here and fight again. But I tell you what, you know, I went around this state, and I cannot abandon all of these people who just came up to me and said, you got to help us. You know, nobody's representing us. You've got to help us. And so I'm not going to, I know they thought that I had been beat up sufficiently that I would be gone and never get back out there again. But all it did was embolden me now to get out there and tell the truth and let people know what's going on. Whenever somebody is having this degree of character assassination, you know that they are on to something and that their opponents are very scared, that something's gonna move and that they're going to be able to call the truth out. And so that's why I got back out there, because I think somebody has to really push this. And so I hope that your listeners will go to look at our website, theMonicaPact.com, and, you know, and it's not about me. I'm not running for office, but I am taking responsibility to get out there and do this and push this message. And that's what we've got to do, or else we lose.
Well, you know what? Monica,
our kids lose.
Exactly.
Our families lose.
Oh, absolutely. And Monica, was interesting. We're out of time, but I told our listeners earlier, listen, you are involved. No decision is a decision.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, Monica, it's great to see what you're doing. The MonicaPact.com, Dr. Monica Wehby, ladies and gentlemen. We got to get to a break, but it's awesome what you're doing, and we'll be talking to you on a regular basis. It'll be great to see as the numbers come in what Oregonians are really talking about.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again, and you guys have a nice day. You got a big week coming up out there.
We do. All right. Dr. Monica Wehby, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. All right, back after this on The Sunrise Show.